All right, buckle up, chuds. This is going to be a brief but intense, session, as they sometimes say. Cut right to the chase. I've been out here in the absolute middle of nowhere, Coos County, New Hampshire. If you know, you know. Looking for the plant that's currently in view there, which probably looks like nothing impressive, and I'll get into that in a second. Some days you win, some days you lose. Sometimes doing this whole, botany as a hobby, this glorified scavenger hunt, in the case of myself, what it feels like sometimes, this, futile effort to escape and evade the noxious trappings of, I wouldn't say all of human society, but certain aspects of it. I don't mean to be compared to another individual. I like some aspects of society, not most of them, but you get the idea. The karmic. I'm somewhere between an atheist and an agnostic. You believe whatever you want to believe. I know plenty of pleasant religious people. I generally don't believe in the notion of a higher power, but I believe that, I guess you could call this a higher power. In some ways, the universe itself has a sense of humor. So yes, I'm in Coos County. I'm way up here, like the very northern extremes of the White Mountains. This general area that I'm in now, this little this little pocket. I'll save this because I'll be back here at some point, I'm sure. Is a really cool, little area set aside. No trails through here. I mean, there's a couple of makeshift snowmobile trails, maybe like an old fire road or two. I've been bushwhacking for the last 3 hours. Excuse me. I also haven't eaten anything today. Looking for this plant here. I'll get into that in a second. I had pins, like locations for these plants, put in front of me. And it goes to show, even with solid coordinates, sometimes you still screw up, because it turns out the GPS on your phone and the GPS data taken, by people, it's not always accurate. You gotta trust your gut. I spent hours. I got to just behind me. There's an area just behind me. I got to it 2 hours ago. It took me, a solid hour to walk in here from my car. If I had just trusted my gut, and this is a lesson in botany for you. If I had trusted my gut, and I had just, said, I'm not sure. The topography here and the habitat doesn't quite look right for the plant we're searching for, and I had just gone 2 minutes instead of just pacing and circling the area I was in, feeling bad for myself, I would have found this thing probably an hour ago. So, lessons to be learned. There's further karma here. You're probably noticing there's something missing from this plant, and that's its flower. Of course, I'm just like, wow, this is like a thick forest, blah blah blah. Come to the one of the sections where it's open. There's deer shit everywhere. Yeah, the deer got the flowers on it. You know what I mean? So, the fruit, even the fruits on this are interesting. Very, very fascinating. So I'll tell you what this is. Just one further explanation. So this area is one of many. This is general vicinity of this area. We're in the shadow of one of many volcanic ring dikes in New Hampshire. This one's a little bit special, though. Like the Ossipee Mountains are a giant one. Pawtuckaway is a ring dike. They're scattered everywhere around New Hampshire. This one's special because you get a pocket of a calcareous rock. So you get a lot of unusual species for New Hampshire growing in a small area. You get cliffs. You get a elevation gradient. You get various different types of soil. You get a lot of cool stuff growing like in a relatively short region, but none of it's, thankfully, there's no trail, so you're not going to punch this in, you're not going to find it. This is just public land, so to speak. And I don't really want to give it away, blah, blah, blah. But there's some very interesting geology here that we're not even going to bother getting into because I spent so long trying to find this fucking thing. I wanted to do a whole thing with this. Ideally, it would have been in flower. Talk about the cool ferns growing on the cliffs nearby. If I kept walking back through this section of woods, eventually you can find some cool orchid habitat. They got Ophioglossaceae and Galliaris growing here. But I don't have time for any of that now because technically I spent 3 hours. I wasted 6 hours. I've been up since 5. Wasted 6 hours. Drove even further north from here. didn't see what I was looking for in an area where I had seen that plant before. Turned around, drove an hour back to here, fucked around for God knows too long, but I'm persistent. This happens to me consistently, where I will, oh God, I can't find it. What's going on? And then eventually something clicks and I do find it. So, long story short, this plant here is Cynoglossum virginianum, variety or subspecies, I can't recall, boreale. Some people put this in the genus Andersonglossum or Andersonglossum, I don't know what it is, and it's its own species, Andersonglossum boreale, and they separate it out from Andersonglossum virginianum. I'm going to stick with Cynoglossum. It's a hound's tongue, all right? There's 4 species that have been collected in New England. 3 of them are, I think Comfrey is a Cynoglossum. This is one of the, hound's tongues is one other common name. This one goes by wild comfrey is like the common name. Specifically, this one will be like northern wild comfrey. And this relatively unremarkable little patch of leaves would have, if it wasn't, so greedily and hastily devoured by a white-tailed deer. Beautiful little forget-me-not looking flowers on it coming out the top. And, a nice leafy little stalk of colline leaves. Now I'll zoom in a second to show you what anatomical details I can, but I will tell you, just from here, you could probably even see this thing is covered in just really rigid hairs, so I'm guessing that the deer would probably find it pretty unpleasant to munch on. So, you gotta have botany eyes, train your eyes, because this has looked different from anything I've seen today, even though I'm basically been walking through a wash of green all day. So, get back in focus there. So Cynoglossum virginianum, subspecies boreale, if you want me to be that guy. Go ahead and punch this into iNet. You're not going to see anything for New England. You might see my obscured observation, which will narrow it down to far northern, New Hampshire. And hopefully this does get. Hopefully it'd be really funny if that's not even what this was. But I don't know what this could be. That leaf shape, believe it or not, is pretty unusual. Whole thing's hairy, stems hairy. I know that this is where it's known to occur. Yada yada yada. If you live in like the Jersey area, Maryland area, you live down in like Appalachia, you can see this a little bit more readily. So we'll get into the detail. We'll get into the interesting stuff here because I can't really show you any of the flowers. So this is the family Boraginaceae. Now Boraginaceae is not really a family known for having like an incredible amount of diversity in New England. You get like one really rare species of Myosotis. I think you get 1 or 2 really rare forget-me-nots, Myosotis. You get 2 species, one of which is very rare, of Hydrophyllum canadense and Hylophydrum virginianum, the water leaves, which some people don't even place in that family, Boraginaceae. And then you get this species here, which is generally just not seen anymore in New England. Fire regimes have something to do with that. I'm gonna go ahead and out on a limb and guess deer browse has something to do with that. But generally speaking, this is just not a plant that is seen much in New England at all anymore. I think that there's down to like 2 populations in New Hampshire, pretty far apart from each other, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know what the second population is. And I thought for most of today, I didn't know where this population was. It is a plant in need of, knock knock, who's there? Oh, it's fire suppression, fucking up the environment again. It's a plant that needs some form, please, God, begging you, some form of routine disturbance to maintain the health of its population. It likes it rich, which you don't get a lot of. It's growing in this pocket because this is a very rich little pocket of forest in the shade of a volcanic ring dike. I believe the soil on this side is also slightly calcareous too. That's why you get Galliaris spectabilis if you were to go if I really felt like walking another hour and a half through hour and a half through dense forest. I'll come back to here. What I'll have to end up doing is slowly kind of tease out the different spots. Nobody comes in here. It doesn't. It seems like, which is not surprising why this doesn't get seen. If this is the type of habitat it needs, very few people are going to find this, even if it's still out there. So historically, this was known from every single state in New England. Has not generally been seen much since the days of like reforestation. I guess it had a heyday kind of like immediately after. I'm just guessing here. Probably had a heyday immediately after, like the reforestation. And I'm just not sure how common it is like down south. Certainly more common than this. It's just one of those exercises in patience. You got to have a sense of humor to do this. So I do these things because I like to highlight real pragmatic examples of what we could have if we just did things that made sense. If the deer were a little bit more under control, if the forests were burned a bit more frequently. I'll even read you the blurb about this species, from Go Botany. Punch this into Go Botany. It's like wild hound's tongue. Which, I mean, I get the name. It's fuzzy like a tongue. Wild hound's tongue was formerly far less rare in New England than it is at present. Its remaining populations are found in deciduous and mixed upland forests, exactly what we're on rocky soils. We're on rocky soil. Steep slopes and recently burned areas. Canopy disturbance and fire play a role in maintaining the species. So you scroll down, you can see the populations extirpated from Connecticut, S1 in Maine, S1 in New Hampshire, S1 in Massachusetts, S1 in Vermont. So it's probably still out there somewhere. I couldn't even technically, I don't think, subspecies boreale was never known from, is only subspecies boreale is known from New Hampshire. You don't get subspecies virginianum. Down here it doesn't look like. Yeah, the taxonomy on this thing's all fucked up. So it could still be out there in any state except for Connecticut. Rhode Island hasn't... never present from Rhode Island. Okay, so it's gone from Connecticut, which is fascinating to me because Connecticut is technically closer to where it's more common. Yes, Andersonglossum, blah, 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 blah. That's fascinating. Okay, so yeah, Andersonglossum officinale is common hound's tongue. It's a Eurasian plant that they get that down in Massachusetts. Leaves look a little bit different. It's a little bit chalkier. And then what's the other one there? Small bristled hound's tongue, which is it's not seen from like a wool carding factory in the 1800s. Okay, so the actual wild hound, the actual common hound's tongue, you wouldn't really be mistaking. Oh, it's got beautiful flowers. You wouldn't mistake these at all if they were actually flowers. Much different habitat too. That's not a forest species. Huh. Interesting. So anyway, we'll probably get close to cutting. I mean, I've been talking for 15 minutes about this plant. Just allow me to rant. You know what I mean? So hopefully that's moderately interesting. I can't get into the anatomy of it. I can't explain the synapomorphy of the family Boraginaceae. You just got to hear me rant about deer and about habitat degradation for 15 minutes while you stared at a pair of leaves. I do it for you, and I do it because I really do love it. There's plenty of interesting other stuff around here, though. Let's take a look at 2 or 3 other interesting things growing here. Yeah, see, so that was the other one I found. And then I'll pan up, and I'll give you an idea what the habitat looks like here. Upland, northern, deciduous forest. Tons of ash, tons of beech, birches. I've even seen some oaks, some Tilia americana. Not that much sugar maple, though. You get some big Tilia up right above me. Oh, there's a maple. Okay, there's sugar maple in here. So I'm presuming that this was logged at one point. I can't imagine it wasn't. And if indeed it wasn't, what's been left behind. Oh, there's some balsam fir in here too. I presume that if it wasn't, which I mean I know almost everything in New England's been logged at least once. Yada yada yada. What's grown back in here, and what I've seen is merely a small fraction of it. A fascinating little ecotone. So I would love to come back here. Go check out the cliffs that are nearby. Go check out the fen that's north of here, where there's supposed to be some really cool orchid diversity. But alas, I've just wasted so much time today. You know, I wanted to be home. I guess it's 2 o'clock. Excuse me. I should really, really, really actually eat something. God, why is my mind blanking right now? Oh, I was trying to look something up in my reception spotty. So anyway, that's what the habitat looks like. Lots of hardwood, deciduous trees. Probably an absolute joy to walk through here on snowshoes in the winter. Nothing really getting in your way. Don't really know what you'd be checking out though. This particular little section has a whole bunch of these. So what you're looking at there, the fertile frond of, I believe, Botrypus is what they were all formerly classified. Now they've been split up. So these are the maturing spores on some manner of rattlesnake fern. Let's see if I can. You can cut this part out. Yeah, there you go. That's a little bit easier to see. So these are fascinating they're not technically like dimorphic ferns as you know them, because it's just one shoot that comes up from the ground, puts out a nice spread of vegetative leaves, and then puts its spores out there. So I was talking maybe recently, the iris prismatic episode about leptosporangiate versus eusporangiate ferns. This would be a eusporangiate fern. This is a more basal, meaning it broke off the evolution. It broke off the family tree earlier than the other ferns. We'll look at a Polystichum acrostichoides in a second here. So that it's a more ancient lineage of ferns. So moonworts, I think whisk ferns are in this whole clade. Ophioglossaceae, or I can't remember what it's called. What the proper name for the whole clade is, but whatever. The Ophioglossom and friends, we'll call them, all have this fascinating structure where they're just basically, move this back even more, where they're basically just doing that's all just like one fluid leaf, technically. I don't know if they consider the sporophyte coming off the top to be a second thing, but they're really weird, and they all are shaped like that. Ophioglossaceae, the genus, are tiny. Some of these Botrypus, can get huge, and they're substantially more abundant than like Ophioglossaceae pusillum, which is the species of Ophioglossaceae we get here. So let me show you just one of the other ferns that's been growing here quite prolifically. Yeah, all right. Here's an old favorite of mine. This is I should probably take some pictures of this. I haven't really documented this one growing yet. This is an old favorite of mine. This is Polystichum acrostichoides, called the Christmas fern. And this one, none of the sori are really ready yet, but you can see them start to grow. In a second, I'll show you that. This is one of the co-occurring, notably co-occurring species with the Cynoglossum. A little bit, unfortunate that this is, pretty common species, but Polystichum, the same genus as like the sword ferns out there in California, like Pacific Northwest, grow underneath the redwoods. I forget what the actual epithet of that is, but it is a Polystichum. And I'll show you what I was talking about. So these little curled edges, so you see these guys, they don't do that whole dimorphic thing. They're just putting their sori on leaves that look like the normal leaves. They're not ready yet. You could probably just barely make it out. Let me actually bring the camera down a bit. Yeah, you can just barely tell if they're there. So another month or so, they'll be little rusty bumps. Not indicative of an STD, but indicative of the fact that the fern is ready to get freaky in the soil. It's going to put its little spores out. It's going to, those spores are going to become, oh God, what are they called now? I can't remember. I didn't prepare to talk about ferns today, but there's barely anything flowering in here, unfortunately. Whatever, you get the idea. They don't turn into, the spores don't germinate into a fern. They germinate into gametophytes, which have archegonium and antheridia. There we go, now I remember. And those are going to send out a sperm and an egg. Sperm's going to fertilize the egg, and that fertilized egg grows into what this free-living structure we commonly call a fern is. They're going to grow into that, the sporophyte. You get sporophyte, gametophyte, flowering plants do it all in one stage, yada, yada, yada. You get the idea. Only other thing I really want to show you, as I sloppily move the camera over, is you get a whole bunch of this down in here too. You get your caulophyllum thalictroides. They're really shrimpy in here. Probably because I bet you the deer browse these too. So, moral of the story today, never give up. Have a sense of humor about whatever you do. And worst comes to worst, you can always slowly go insane while you track down a total of 2 plants, all sold. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 leaves on them. So 2 plants of a population, I think that was last counted at 8. But there's supposed to be multiple. I'm guessing that there's multiple patches of it in here. I can't really justify spending any more time in here today. My cat's throwing a temper tantrum at home. He's hissing at my fiance. I don't know what's going on. I'm going home. I'm grabbing a beer. I'm making chicken parm, and I'm taking a day off tomorrow from botany. So anyway, I sincerely hope, because this is one of those episodes that's for nobody, but I sincerely hope if you stuck around and you did give this one a try, you at least enjoyed it. So farewell from what is ultimately a beautiful, somewhat mostly pristine, deciduous hardwood forest in northern New Hampshire. Here's the other one. We'll give one last nod to Cyanoglossum, virginianum. We'll say thank you, Cyanoglossum. I've been doing that lately. I don't know why. I hope the deer don't eat you into a grave, but I got to go pack out of here. So take it easy, folks, and have a good one. Okay, I was being a little dramatic when I said there's nothing flowering. There you go, Tiarella cordifolia, or stolonifera, just so that we can say we got one thing in flower in the video there. This has been growing everywhere. Beautiful plant, doing super well here. Oh, hang on. Oh no, looks like a Eurybia or a solidago. I thought I saw more. I'm gonna be seeing Cyanoglossum in my dreams tonight, probably. I said, wow, what a beautiful swallowtail. That's the best swallowtail anybody's ever seen. Everybody's talking about him. I said, wow, what a beautiful swallowtail. That is really a beautiful swallowtail or tiger swallowtail butterfly. I don't think he can take off right now because he's a little bit too wet, but he'll dry out. He's gonna walk right by you, buddy. Beautiful, beautiful butterfly. And you see that right there. That's that towering, thin strip of mountain is what we were just on the other side. I forgot the mosquitoes here are like fucking brutal. But that's a big slab of volcanic rock that once formed. I believe how it works is formed the inside of a caldera. At least part of it. Half of it's there. If you go immediately, you can't see it through the trees, but immediately to the right of it's a much taller, like actual mountain range. This thing kind of stands alone here, I think we can get another angle of it back towards the beginning. Couldn't see it this morning because everything was so foggy. You know what? Thank God it didn't rain today. I'll say that. Thank God it didn't rain today. Yeah, it's a cool viburnum I've never seen before. And more importantly, it's the native subspecies, I believe. It's Viburnum opulus. First blush kind of resembles Viburnum lanthanoides with the different phylogeny there. Has those sterile outside flowers and actual fertile interior flowers. But look at the leaves. Almost looking like a maple leaf, but not quite. And the non-native species, which there's Viburnum opulus on both sides of the Atlantic. And rather than, use this one in horticulture, they brought in the European subspecies. Look at the stalked petiole glands there. That's one of the differences. I guess there's some slight differences. You'd have to look at the fertile flowers too. But the stalked petiole glands are the actual first thing of the key break there. Viburnum opulus, what a fascinating way Drowned out a day. Apparently this grows like all over New England. I've never seen it before until today. Unless maybe it was like growing in horticulture or something. Why don't you plant that? Grows in Massachusetts, grows all over New England. Grow the native subspecies. Don't grow the Eurasian one. Maybe they back cross too. I don't know. I wouldn't expect, this is not the area I'd expect to see, you know, Viburnum opulus escaping from cultivation. God, I'm just one of those days, you know? One of those days.